Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are, between Pacific and Eastern time zone. So we got the full spectrum of folks joining. Um, all right. Why don't we, while we wait for others to join, why don't we just hear from all of you in a quick chat here? Where are you joining from? And just let's get some. Oh, Sam, come on, man. You are just in the next room. Stop bothering people. Sandy, hey, good to hear from you. Super. All right. So we got late nighters folks joining in here. Susan here in Texas. Houston, Jamie, hey, good to see you again. It was wonderful meeting you guys. All right. Okay, so all right. Alan, well, good to see you on the call. Thank you. Thanks for joining. All right. So I'm sure in this webinar series, you guys have gone through a lot of InsuredMine specific or the workflow specifics on the business side of things. Um, and they wanted me to come and talk a little bit off topic, talk primarily on the big picture, talk a little bit about how do we see InsuredMine, where are we heading, and also take a position on the comparatives of InsuredMine, CRM, and the whole world out there in terms of AMS, and how do we understand that? What is our take? What do we see as future? And I'll tell you guys, I was just reviewing some of my notes. 3 years ago, we did a webinar, which was primarily around AMS and CRM. We did not go specific because we had a panel that we wanted to hear from, and but there was few reference point around that of what is the difference between an AMS and CRM. And the intention of this is, of course, in 3 years, a lot has changed, a lot has evolved, and we want to understand that in that larger context. What does that mean? Because I'll tell you, 8 out of 10 conversations I have with agencies, and they would ask that initial question is, what is that difference between, and where should I start? And so the intent is to bring that conversation in a larger context. And I will talk about that. While I do that, there is a couple other things I just want to ask you guys. Is there anything more that you would like to get out of this, let's say, 45 minutes of webinar? I see Andy joining as well. Well, welcome, Andy. Thanks for joining. Uh, and then, so please feel free to write in here if there is anything specific you want to get beyond me diving deeper into the AMS CRM element. All right, feel free to jump in. So let me start by putting our position of how do we see. So when we look at the history of InsuredMine in context of AMS, so let's start on the AMS side first. 30 years, all right. Um, 30 years ago, we start seeing that applied AMS, applied Epic, and a couple other AMS kind of started making its way into the digital world. As we all understand, prior to that, Alan talking about Canopy Connect playing a significant role. Yes, it's an interesting aspect of the workflow, and I'll talk about Canopy Connect. Uh, so, but guys, keep sharing your intake or any observation you have or any topic that you want me to talk about. I will, while I continue to plug in these things between the larger theme of AMS and CRM. So as I mentioned, 30 years ago, AMS kind of start coming into picture, and the trigger of that was as digitization was starting to happen, people were starting to move from uh, filing cabinet, everything paper, to everything digital. It took us almost 30 years to become kind of a quasi digital. I don't think everybody is yet completely digital, but to a larger extent. But what has changed in the last 25, 27 years, and then in the last 3 to 5 years? Um, One thing which has changed was, the economy of how the customer expectation used to be has changed dramatically. For example, with Apple, Google, Amazon, customer have become the center point than product. Earlier, it was all about product. And in our ecosystem, what is a product? Product is policy. So policy management system, which is our AMS, was the center for the 25 years. And that is how the industry used to be. That is how the ecosystem, customer experience, customer expectations were all about. But with Amazons and the Apples and the Googles, the product kind of evolved into more, you start trying to understand customers, and customer became the center. And so that kind of, I'm sure you guys have looked into some of the other products like Salesforce, HubSpot, which talks all about customer management, customer experience, understanding your customer. All of that became more of a center point. And we see that is kind of evolving every day. So the transition starts to happen from everybody thinking that AMS is everything to which is product focus, to start thinking about sales focus or customer focus or marketing focus, because then you are talking about customer. And how do we look into that? So first of all, when you are thinking customer or you are thinking your business, you start to think, where do I start? We understand a customer becomes a customer before they become a customer. Well, let's rephrase that. A customer becomes a customer, which means they become a prospect in a way before they actually become a customer, because now they're paying. So when they become a prospect, that has nothing to do technically with your AMS, because you have no policy. There is no product that you have sold to somebody. How are we managing that? We may just kind of, lack of a good word, we bastardize that system and just plug in that name somewhere just to keep it. But then, and today, some of the AMSs have started or have included that capability where you can do a little bit of mass marketing, send campaigns and stuff like that. But just because you can do a couple things, it does not kind of make an AMS a CRM. So that's point one. You need a system, because as I have preached in my last 6 years, that there is 7 stages in an agency management system to a CRM, and how an agency is operating. What are those 7 stages? Number one is lead capture. When we bring in a lead, what are we doing with that lead? And how is that lead coming in? Lead is coming in through your referrals, it is coming through web leads, it is coming through your website, it is coming through you are buying leads from those sources, all of that. But end of the day, all of this lead is getting into your system through multiple ways, whether it's through forms, whether it's through an email, whether somebody is picking up the phone or somebody is walking into your office. Once you get all of that data in your system, in your CRM, how are you automating to get the ball rolling immediately? Right? So those leads are not sitting and dying in your system of whatever needs to be done. So that's number one, is that is first and the most important thing. Well, not the most important, but one of the primary things when you think about a CRM and your AMS. Your CRM is helping you start getting motion on a prospect or a lead that you have just captured. This is a pure distinction. And AMS is not in that frame. Thank you, Monserrat, for sharing that 7 stages. Lead capture is what we are talking. In this one, there's a pure distinction. Now you are just purely thinking from an AMS perspective or a CRM perspective, because you are making that motion go in where how am I capturing? How am I nurturing that? Let's also define a very clear distinction that lead capture at this point is not about is that guy going to buy policy from you, or is guy even ready to buy policy? Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. So that's where it goes to the next stage of lead nurture. Again, a very clear distinctive path of what can be done in a CRM. Lead nurturing is not a function that usually you are doing in your AMS. So I gave you so far two elements where you get a distinction between what you can do in your AMS versus what you can do in your CRM. Your lead capture is happening in your CRM. Your lead nurture is happening in your CRM. Any questions so far, guys? Feel free to engage. This is not a preaching moment. This is not a monologue. So if you have questions, I'm happy to take them. Um, and and I'll talk about Alan's point on Canopy Connect, because that is an element of, I would say, if I would not tell you the story, you would assume and you may mistake it by saying it's a lead capture moment. But I would say, no, it's not a lead capture moment. It's a sales funnel moment. And I'll come to that in a moment. So lead capture is all about just thinking from the perspective. It's just you are absorbing, you are receiving it. Lead nurture is when you are on top of their mind. Because when they buy policy from you, they bought one policy today and they may not need for the next 12 months another policy. But something has changed in their lifestyle or in their economic situation or family situation, where now they may end up buying a motorboat which you do not know, right? But if you are constantly engaging with them and you're nurturing them, they may be thinking, oh, I had already spoken to Alan. Let me reach out to Alan and see if he can quote me on my new board that I purchased. At that moment, that nurturing is leading to a SQL, which is sales qualified lead now. That moment is when that SQL goes into your sales funnel. This is the moment where you have moved somebody from a contact list to your pipeline. Guys, this is very important. And I'm sure many of you are doing it, but maybe not scientifically thinking about these things in that sequential or in that very specific categorization. So lead capture to sales funnel, there is huge gap between those things and what actually is happening. So now in your sales funnel, first thing is now that guy has raised their hand of say, hey, I want to buy policy, or I am interested in this particular policy. That's when now you are at a point of you need more information about that particular product. And at that moment, maybe boat might be one example, but let's say they just bought a house. It's a rental property. Or, they already had a house. They want to add this in this policy. This is where Canopy Connect or anything which allows you to rate or get a net page, things like that becomes interesting. And you may need that information into your flow. You can jump on a call, get that information, or you can automate, send this detail to them, let them come back to you with the information that you need. Again, the reason I am talking about solutions rather than just talk about the flow is because then I want you guys to think and process these solutions as a part of how you are building something. Make sense? So now in your sales funnel result, it changes dramatically because sales funnel, in this case, we are talking new business. And within new business, we can have a personal line versus commercial. We completely understand that primarily on the personal lines. It's a smaller ticket. It's very transaction heavy. It's a faster moving cycle compared to your commercial. You may be just selling 15, 20, 30 policy a year. You may have just your pipeline would be 5 or 7 guys sometimes. I've seen those pipelines where they are selling just 3 policy in a month and they are making buttload of money. So they are okay with that. Understanding that it's not always about a lot of volume, a lot of leads, a lot of deal cuts. It's understanding what you are dealing with. So whether it's a personal lines, you would look into from that perspective, how many transactions I'm able to push through. Whether it's about getting those lead card in with Canopy Connect or other integrations, and then pushing it through. I don't want to go into the depth of how in the sales funnel, what are the things you can do in terms of quoting, in terms of communicating, capturing all that data in one place, uh, rating them, and then pushing it through to the code bind process. But the goal of this sales funnel is you drop off a deal card when there is a final disposition. And those disposition can be of 3 types. Either you win that deal, either you lose that deal, and if you lose that deal, make sure you understand what is the edge date of that so you can bring that deal back on the pipeline or at least at the nurturing point at that you may not have closed yet, but probably next year. There is other element in this as well is, let's say that guy was trying to buy a house and he came and asked for your a quote, and then that deal fall off the plate. It didn't happen. What do you do? It's not a lost, it's not an ex date yet, but the deal is off the table. So those kind of things, you want to take it back out of this. Don't put an ex date, but take it back to your contact and put it into your nurture stage, because you continue to nurture and this guy may come back at some point of time, right? All right. So that's important where you stop on this on your sales funnel before you go into onboarding. I'll tell you, I was having dinner a couple of days ago. Happens to be in Miami and then Esplanade Way. I'm sure several of you know. I was talking to a couple of folks out there, and that's where I started talking about this onboarding process. And I said that this is the honeymoon period of an agency with their prospect or now a newer client, because the clients are high on you. They are excited about you. So this is the moment where you want to probably baptize them with your culture of your agency. Tell them about who you are, what you stand for, why you are in the business, how you will help them, what they should expect out of you. This is the moment. And try to maximize that through communicating through email, through text, get them into that motion. And the word baptize kind of got stuck with the person I was sitting, and she says, "Yes, I need to go back into my business, and I need to get going and thinking about how do I get my clients to be into that frame of mind." So it's a very important element is to understand how is this flow kind of evolving. And I'll tell you, as Tucker uses this term more often, that every agency is a snowflake, which is every agency is so uniquely different how they operate than the agency next door. And so all these 4 stages that we talked about is very different for any agency that we talk to. And the nuances needs to be accommodated, how we operate these 4 things. I'll pause there for a second as we continue to go before we start talking about retentions, service, and renewal. Any questions so far? And I'll also take some of the questions that already exist over there. Habib has a question statement. I work at an agency and we are looking to perhaps shift to InsuredMine. I've joined to see what InsuredMine has to offer. All right. And I'm using Agency Zoom. Okay, great. Thank you for joining and learning. So, perfect timing, Habib, of reading this question because, as I said, one of the uniqueness about InsuredMine is its depth of configurability of because we understand every agency is so unique, their processes are unique, and you would like to build your process based on your agency's culture, your expectation, your workflow, your employees, your customers, which will be different. So, being able to adapt a software to meet those needs, to be able to configure workflows, uh, solutions like that is huge advantage to an agency who's using InsuredMine. And a couple other things, not to just blow my own trumpet here. I think one of the biggest advantage I say to any agency is it's not just about what you get today. Of course, the we have led this CRM thing for the last 6 years, and we have seen a lot of replica of solution coming out. We were the first one to start multi pipelines. We were the first one to start renewal pipelines, or even service pipeline. We were the first one out. How we are consolidating testing and rerouting them. There are many things that we were the first one, and then we have seen in our industry now several of these solutions have replicated and brought. So if you want to be in that, hey, somebody has already built it, but somebody has copied and used it, you can. But if you want to be on the forefront, there is a lot more in the offering. With solutions like last year, we delivered on e-signature. This year, we are right now piloting on the AI solutions for deal predictability and several other things. So, of course, we are pushing that digital envelope really, really fast. So, all right. So that's a question. I know, Montserrat, you got some questions. Feel free to jump in.
Thank you, Roshan. So we're talking about CRM and AMS. So as I always connect with the agencies, and they are always asking like, where do I have to start first? Should I start first in my AMS or should I start in my CRM? And also we have like, what is the main difference between data integration and accessibility for these agencies that they will have in InsuredMine that they will not have in their AMS?
Right, let me unmute. Perfect. A good question. So let's take the first thing first, which is where do I start? And I think the right answer is it depends, because if you are in the you got that lead capture, and if that is where your workflow starts, of course the answer would be bring everything in InsuredMine, get the lead captured, get it moving into the lead nurture, and then once the it is ready for the sales funnel or you need to quote, you may start there. But I also would recognize a second school of thought where they get a lead not at a lead capture stage, they get a lead at a quoting stage, literally, that they get information, somebody's calling or somebody's giving that information, and they are willing ready to quote. So you may skip stage one and stage two, and you want to start at stage three. And sometimes, because of the challenges of integration or where it is, you may start at probably at a rater, because you may feed that data, the kind of the depth of that data is needed sometimes. We may not have it in a CRM. And so you start at a rater, you feed that data to your AMS, or you start at an AMS and feed it to the rater. And because you started at AMS, it automatically came to your CRM. And then it also went to your rater at the same time. So sometimes, depending on what kind of a process you're following, you may start at InsuredMine or you may start at your rater or your AMS. So it depends, and it's always recommended, have that conversation with us, and based on your flow, we may be able to suggest you what's the best thing. So see, my bias is not about whether you start with InsuredMine or you start with AMS. My bias is always about the customer and how they can get the most out of it. And I'm totally okay if that means starting at AMS. So looking at that solution of what your business needs are, we may be able to do that and accomplish what needs to be done. I believe you had second question as well, right?
Right, that it was about data integration and accessibility. So how InsureMine is helping them to have better data and the accessibility or the easiest ways to access to all of the data that they have.
Perfect. So the analogy I have used for a very long time, and not I've not used this recently, but you remind me of that analogy. Is think about a pipe. It's this thick, but and you have put a lot of stuff in that pipe. And then when you're looking from the top, the only thing you can see is the top layer. You cannot see everything that you have stuffed in that pipe for all the depth it has. And what InsuredMine does is, we feed that same data into a more of a, I would not say a crystal ball, but it's a glass ball because now it allows you to see it from all dimensions in every variations of that data that is possible. And because as we say, hey, data is the new oil. The more you understand your business through this data, the better you are able to accomplish newer and better goals. I'll give you a few examples on that. But other element of this is not only about understanding your business, it's also about how you are using this data to clean the data. Lot of customers today talk about, hey, if I knew I need to get on a journey with InsuredMine, other thing what I would do is when I start with InsuredMine is first thing I will focus on is the data cleanup. And we hear this all the time. So we have built a lot of practice within InsuredMine in terms of data cleanup, in terms of how do you complete your data, how do you enrich your data. All of that becomes a part, it kind of extends the scope of CRM, but it is an important element of how you operate. If you do not have email address, if you do not have phone numbers, who are you going to send your information to? So that's one thing. When you have bad email address, when you have bad phone numbers, where is that going? When a customer has moved from one address to another address, where is that going? So knowing some of these very basic fundamental data points of a customer, is very key in how do we make sure we sanitize those data points. Other element which we hear a lot about is carrier data. We have carrier information, 20 variations of travelers, 10 variations of Safeco. There is a writing company versus, a paying company. And then you would look at these data and it would just not make sense. How do we compile this data? So because if you're looking, okay, I'm writing 15% with travelers, but when you look at it, you would see actually 3%. Why? Because there is another 2%, another 1%, another 0.5%, and it all consolidates to 50. I would rather see that 15 in a consolidated way. So there is a lot of data points which needs cleanup, which needs consolidation. So you can have a much cleaner and better picture about your agency that you are able to share with the clients.
Thank you, Roshan. And other question that I have is like scalability and growth. So how InsureMine adopts or help the agencies to grow versus the AMS?
So that's, this takes me back to my early days of selling in InsuredMine. And one thing I used to say to any prospective agencies that I used to talk, it was more frequent. Now I do less of that. And you guys got me stuck into all these webinars and stuff rather than selling. But when in those conversations, I had a very clear and specific questions and statement to the customer that if InsuredMine is not allowing you to make more money and save more money, you should not be using InsuredMine. So now let's elaborate on that statement. How does InsuredMine allow you to make more money and save more money? Right? So let's look at the save more money element. Today, there is at least 5 to 6 different tool that you do not need if you're using InsuredMine. So you are saving money on not having to spend that money on these things. And because you do not have to now consistently switch between all these 6 different products or tech solutions, there is a mind takes 10 to 15% of your capability to switch context from one application to another to third to fourth. So you are saving that mind capacity when you're not switching between many applications. And third is because you have it all consolidated in one platform, your speed to access becomes way more stronger. So if you consolidate the cost aspect, the productivity aspect, the switching cost aspect, it gives you somewhere between 15 to 30% of increase in productivity and cost. That's part one in terms of savings. Part two is in terms of making money. Today, I can guarantee when agencies are trying to follow all their leads through paper, or in an Excel or through an email, there is at least 10 to 15% of the deal that falls through the crack. That, oh, I forgot I did not follow up with John. Oh, I forgot he has been waiting on this. That, oh, I forgot moment happens and things fall through the crack because you are not tracking on a sales funnel, as we say. Because it keeps you honest, it keeps you moving, it stares at your face that hey, this is what I need to do. So that's part one in making money part. Number two on that is you start looking at your entire deal flow. Today, you may be taking probably 20-25 days to close a deal. Once you start tracking this, your goal becomes how do I reduce my 23 days to 18 days, to 15 days, to 12 days? Because the faster you close, there's more deals you can work on. So saving time on this or be able to just squeeze a lot with a higher velocity helps you grow. Be able to not let things fall through the cracks helps you grow. Making the entire team on the same page of, hey, what is that culture of selling in an organization? It becomes way more prominent. When 4 people are into that, or those 4 producers are selling, you bring in a fifth guy, you don't have to tell him, hey, do your way. He just follows this flow, right? That training, onboarding, on ramping, it all kind of gets really fast and quick in terms of how they are able to um, gather and build on that. So that acceleration, not letting things fall through the cracks, allows you at least 10 to another 10 to 15%. So if you add all of this up, you would see somewhere between 20 to 50% increase in your total savings just because of you are using a system which is structured and allow you to do business. Yeah, thanks, Alan. So Alan is talking about SEO is great to generate leads, whereas CRM is greatly helps to capture with nurture. Yes, thank you. Thanks for validating that. All right. So Montserrat, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, Roshan. And the last one, future trends in CRM and of course InsureMine. So what are we building? What is the core in driving these changes in InsureMine? And how are we helping our agencies?
That's an interesting one. Let me start by a couple of positioning as we started this whole conversation on AMS and CRM. And I'll tell you one question that has been consistently asked of me in the last since the day I started InsuredMine is when are you becoming an AMS? Or AMS has been asking, I guess you will become an AMS one day. And my answer to all those people is no, InsuredMine will never become an AMS. And I'll tell you why. The reason we will never become an AMS is, as I said, it's a 30-year-old concept that has evolved and probably a little bit caught up to the time. But if I need to bet my money, is this going to be there for the next 30 years? The answer is no. So I will put my money where what will be the solution for the next 30 years. I know every agency will be selling more. I know every agency will be marketing more, and there will be more competition. It will be more digital. And if the focus is on the customer, so my money will be on a CRM rather than an AMS. So in the 10 years ago, probably 15 to 20% of this market was using, even I am being optimistic when I say 15 to 20%. I would say it's less than 10% to be realistic, was using a CRM. Today, probably around 30 to 40% of that market is using CRM. So in last 7 to 8 years, if that number has doubled, tripled, 4x, and I assume that number will at least double, if not triple in the next 5 years. So this market is expanding, this market is growing, and this is what every agency wants. Why would I become a retro solution rather than become a solution of the future? So that is one of the core is where this is heading and what every agency. So it's a must, right? Today, if you need a system, you need to have a CRM. You cannot be operating an agency without a CRM. If you are leaving money on the table. That's number one. So that's a positioning statement. Then comes where is InsuredMine heading with all of these sales? So today we cannot complete a conversation without talking about AI. So how has InsuredMine deployed AI? And I will talk to you in phases. There is 3 phases in the AI journey. What is called generative AI, which is where we are generating content, right? Which we have rolled out early this year in Q1. Of you are able to summarize email. You are able to generate an email using AI. You are able to summarize your notes, or just create a whole new note out of it, or transcribe a MP3 file, or your voicemail, or your call. All of that is generative AI. Then comes the second stage of AI, and we have seen that generative AI has been very well received. A lot of users are using it every day, and when I talk to them, there is some great reviews about it. So fantastic work, team. Second aspect of this is predictive. So now we are moving from not only generate content, but we are predicting based on all the content we have. So at an average, we are processing somewhere 600 to 700 deal card in a year. So if I look at last couple of years of data, it is more than 1 million deal card that we have analyzed and put that through a rigorous machine learning model and AI model to say, okay, what are those variables that is influencing a deal card, that is influencing where that deal will end up landing, whether that we will end up winning that deal, whether we will end up losing that deal. That is called predicting. We are right now testing that with few of our pilot agencies. And once all that test comes through, hopefully we can open it up for general public. So that is very interesting because every new business, whether it's personal or commercial, every renewal, whether it's personal or commercial, you will be able to predict. But let's say, so if your agency has a closing ratio of, let's say, 40%, which means 40 out of 100 leads that you get, you are able to close today. But what you do not know is which 40 out of that 100 will close. And With this predictive model, we will be able to predict, hey, the probability of closing this particular deal is 85% compared to the other deal, which is 15%. And if I'm telling you those two deal probability, you know which one you want to pick to close. It allows you to segment, it allows you to cherry pick, it allows you to prioritize where you want to put your energy. And that will be a huge time saving. It will increase your accuracy, it will reduce your time to sell, and it's a huge advantage. So back to that point, that is my stage 2 on AI. It started at generative AI. Now we are talking predictive AI. What is stage 3? I think we will roll that out next year, but we are starting to position. So what is stage 3? Stage 3 is what is called prescriptive. Not only we are predicting, but when we predict the possibility or the probability of closing this deal is 15%, I can prescribe along with that, hey, if you do step 1, 2, and 3, the probability will increase from 15 to 45. That is where the game will change a little bit more. So this is very exciting phase of pushing that bar, pushing that technology element to allow you guys to do things which has never been done in this industry. And I am very happy and proud to share that, hey, we are spearheading this. This deal predictability, I can literally guarantee you. I don't see this kind of a conversation anywhere else. Look and talk to other AMS, talk to other CRMs. Nobody is even close to be thinking about this kind of capabilities. So you were saying, Habib, what would that look like, right? This is what it will look like. Switching, because this kind of capability, you will have to wait before somebody is able to copy. So, all right. So that is about AI and where we are heading. There are other capabilities as we are continuing to build on deeper automations. We are able to bring more capability in terms of phone systems, in terms of be more effective on the analytics, be able to be bringing more data element in terms of the AMSs. So that will continue to push. Let me read some of these questions and comment for you guys. So Jamie was asking, where is my data stored? Very good question. Let me finish that. Does InsuredMine take control of my data? Will any of my customer data secure, or will it be sold in any way? Wonderful question, Jamie. Thank you for asking. So our position from day 0 till today is we are a technology company. We enable you guys to use your data to do better. We have zero hold on that data, which means we do not own that data. Yes, we do anonymize to make the data more richer to enable you guys to do so. All of this AI work is getting done through all of this data, or sometimes synthetic data, but this is not being packaged to sell. It is not being packaged to give it to somebody else. This is for you guys. We are using whatever data it is to enrich your experience out of this, nothing more. Any other question on this? Habib says, "What kind? That kind of looks like Donna team is doing. Good to know. Thanks." I do not know if they're doing on the new business. I think probably on renewal, they may be something similar to that. I have no idea. I have not looked into that product ever, literally. So I know that company. I know Anurag and team well, but I don't think I have known the product. Jamie has another question. Would like to see more reporting for book of business by carrier and eventually have some accounting features. Good point, Jamie. You and I need to connect on that whole accounting thing. So let's find some time and do that. Yes, more reporting, always looking for more feedback. As you guys know, we add somewhere between 600 to 700 new features or enhancement in a year. And all of that comes through the feedback that you guys provide. So continue to do that, continue to share more. And we are being relentless as always to push the boundaries to get more and more in your hand as much as possible. Any other question? All right. All right. Unless we have any more question, I think this is fantastic conversation. I would Habib has another question. I'll take that. Does InsuredMine have a natural integration with Applied Epic? The answer is yes. It's a perfectly timed question, Habib, and it may seem like I planted you with these questions, but I appreciate you asking. So we are opened for general business with Applied Epic since September 16th. So it is just last week when so if any of the guys who are on the call and are with Applied Epic, you can reach out to your rep from Applied and tell them you need IM connector. And that is the API suite SDK or whatever that is called, API connections. That's what we would need from them, and we can get you going. I'm sure there is a charge, like always, Applied or any other AMS would charge you for everything that you need out of them. But at least you get the capability to leverage InsuredMine with a proper API, which is two-way, and it has a very promising capability that we are building on top of it. So yes, you can. And there you go, Sam. Appreciate that. You can also contact Sam. Sam is our account executive. So happy for you guys to connect with him and he can share more. All right. So this is good conversation, guys. I appreciate all of you joining. I appreciate you taking time to invest in InsuredMine because by your time, by your participation, by your contribution, collaboration, by your agency's utilization of the product, each of this contribute and help collectively to push the agency, to push the product, push the industry forward. And I would not be able to do this without that support that I get from you guys. So thank you all for joining. Thank you all for allowing me to share my vision on this. And thank you, Montserrat, for conducting this.
No, thank you, Roshan, for joining us. And thank you all. Do not forget that every Wednesday we have these webinars at 1 Central Time. So tomorrow we're going to send you this recording if you miss something or if you want to re-listen and learn more from Roshan. And thank you all. If you need that we give another topic, please, that you can share with us the topic, and happy to give you that topic. Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.